Now that week one of college football is pretty much over, except for tomorrow's game between LSU and USC, I thought I'd talk some today about what went on in week one and what I think about some of these teams. Something I saw today that I already knew before the season even began is that Georgia is an elite team, a for sure top three team in the country because they have an elite coaching staff and an elite roster loaded full of future NFL players. And I also saw in this game that Clemson is not any good, and that Dabo Sweeney is going to have to get over his stubbornness and adapt to the new college football by using the transfer portal, or he's going to end up getting himself fired. So Georgia won the game 34-3, and I know it was close at halftime. It was 6-0, but in the second half they got dominated by Georgia. So Clemson's got one of the worst quarterbacks in the country, no doubt, with Cade Klubnik. He doesn't know what he's doing. He makes so many mistakes. And I know Georgia's got an elite defense, but there's no excuse for Clemson just scoring 3 points in that game. Their offense was like non-existent, and their offensive line was expected to be better this year because they have everybody coming back, but they're still terrible. Georgia's defensive line dominated them, and their wide receivers, none of them scare any team. And I do like Maffa at running back still, but he can't carry their offense by himself. He's not that good. And Georgia on offense looked good to me because Clemson, I do think, has a really good defensive line. I don't think the rest of Clemson's defense, the linebackers and secondary, are that good overall. But Clemson struggled to get pressure on Carson Beck in this game because even though Clemson has a really good defensive line, Georgia's offensive line is even better. Georgia dominated Clemson at the line of scrimmage, really, on both sides in this game. So Clemson might win 8 games this year, but if they were an SEC team, they would be a 6-win team, I think, at best. They're that bad. Uh, I think, though, because of their defense, they'll uh, have a decent record with the easy ACC schedule that they get. And Michigan played Fresno State today, and it looks like their offense is a problem. Like I thought, they only scored 23 points offensively in the game. They scored 30 overall because of a pick six, but their defense does look to be good again. They only gave up 10 points, and I know Fresno State is not Power Four, but they're one of the best group of five teams. And Notre Dame beat Texas A&M 23-13, which I know is a double-digit win. But that game was really competitive, and I wouldn't give up on Texas A&M being able to have a good season this year. So I know I picked Texas A&M to make the college football playoff before the season started, but now because Notre Dame beat them, which I had Texas A&M winning that game, I would switch that to Notre Dame making the college football playoff because their schedule is really easy. Now that they beat A&M, I think they'll probably go 11-1 or maybe even 12-0, and that will for sure get them. And A&M, I don't think this was a terrible loss for them because Notre Dame is a really good team. And a big surprise today was that Virginia Tech lost to Vanderbilt, who uh, has a horrible roster. And I'm off the Virginia Tech hype now. I know they had a lot of hype going into this season, including from me, but I'm not confident that Vanderbilt is any good. I just think Virginia Tech is actually overrated this year. And Ole Miss, which is my favorite team, did really well today. I thought I don't have any complaints uh, from them winning 76 to nothing, tying a school record for the most points scored in a game. So I know this was an FCS team, so I can't say for sure because Ole Miss did so well in this game that they're going to be elite this year. But I do think they're going to be, and they didn't do anything to make me doubt that this year. So Trey Harris may be the best wide receiver in the country. He looked even better in this game today than he looked last year, and he was already one of the best wide receivers in the country last season. And also, Miami looked good today to me. They blew out Florida 41 to 17, and Florida is a terrible football team, which I knew before the season began. Billy Napier and Coach Prime, who I'm about to talk about in a minute, maybe the two worst college football coaches in the country. He's no doubt getting fired at latest the end of the season. And I wouldn't be shocked if they even fired him in a few weeks. Their offense was terrible. And one of those touchdowns, of course, came from that five-star backup quarterback that came in when Graham Mertz got hurt. DJ Lagway. He might be pretty good, but he isn't going to be good enough to turn that team into a good team this year, even if he ends up playing the rest of the season. Florida's defense is still bad. Miami, though, their wide receivers are really good, like I thought, and they had some other wide receivers that looked impressive today that I didn't even know about. Cam Ward had a great day, passing for 300 and something yards. Looks like he was the answer for them at quarterback. He looks like he makes good decisions in the pocket for the most part. Mm, And that wide receiver, Xavier Restrepo or whatever his name is, it looked really good. And I know he was a really good wide receiver last year, but he looked really good again today. He could be a finalist for the wide receiver of the year award. I'd be shocked if he doesn't end up getting in at least the second round of the draft next season. And Miami, to me, looks like they're probably going to win the ACC because Clemson is not any good. Florida State is not any good, I don't think. And Virginia Tech, who was supposed to be good, apparently is not any good. Now, of course, Louisville could still be in their way, but Miami clearly right now looks to be the best team in the ACC. And I saw something that this week I knew before the season began was true, but some of you Coach Prime lovers out there might have had to have seen it for yourselves to believe it. That Colorado is a terrible football team again. They're at best as good as they were last year. Deion Sanders has no interest in even winning games at Colorado. All he cares about is getting his two sons and Travis Hunter big enough numbers to go high in the draft, which uh, Shador Sanders is an amazing quarterback. He's going to go first round, and Travis Hunter is maybe the best player in college football. He's an amazing player at wide receiver and cornerback. So that's why I say maybe he is the best overall player in college football. But Travis Hunter could not even play another game in college, and he would go first round in whichever position he decides to play in the NFL. And then they've got one other really good receiver, Jimmy Horn. at Colorado. But again, they have no run game. They ran for 50 something yards in that game against an FCS opponent, North Dakota State, and they averaged 2 point something yards per run. And they had 440 something passing yards. So again, they're one dimensional. And that's the way Deion Sanders wants it because he doesn't actually care about winning games. It's all about Shador Sanders and Travis Hunter, and then his other son, Shiloh Sanders, having success so they can get drafted. But you can type in the comments until your fingers get worn out about all the success that North Dakota State has had in the FCS. But the truth is, that's an FCS team, and Colorado's a Power Four team, and there was no reason why they should have only beat them by 5 points. And there's no reason why their defense should have given up 26 points to an FCS team. Their defense is still horrible, maybe the worst defense in the Power Four. Colorado shouldn't even be in the Power Four. They should be in the Group of Five, and they might not even be the best FCS team if they were in the FCS. And again, their lines of scrimmage are horrible. They're for sure, in my opinion, the worst in the Power Four. They let an FCS team dominate them on both sides at the line of scrimmage. And again, their linebackers are horrible. And there are four starters in a secondary usually. And Travis Hunter, of course, at cornerback is an amazing player. And then Deion Sanders' other son, Shiloh Sanders at safety, is a pretty good player. Probably has an NFL future, but he's not great. And then the other two starters in the secondary, they might as well not even be there. They're like non-existent. And Colorado's running backs, you couldn't even know if they're good or not because Derrick Henry would look bad with that offensive line that Colorado has. Penn State looked pretty good today. They blew out West Virginia 34-12, and I was surprised by that. I thought West Virginia not only had a good chance to win, but I thought they had a really good chance to keep that game close. Disaster Aller, Penn State's quarterback, actually had a decent game today, throwing for 200 and something yards. But don't get too excited if you like Penn State because remember, Penn State played West Virginia in the opener last year too, and Disaster Aller had an even better game where he threw for 300 and something yards. And the rest of the year he played like he didn't know what he was doing. So it's just a wait and see situation with them. But Penn State looks like a team that will probably win 10 games again this season. So that will be it with this video, and please subscribe, and thanks for watching. And I'll be back probably Monday. I'll update my rankings for this week, and goodbye.